it it would be better if you restrict the persons or all the participants to unmute themselves.
Yeah, we will do that. We will do that. Sham,
Yeah.
transfer the host to me.
Please, guys, mute yourself.
Some transfer to Mahesh.
Make me the host.
I'm transferring to him.
Don't allow the participants to unmute themselves.
Yeah, just I'm doing this one only, bro.
Mahesh will start the session if you transfer it.
Yeah, do it now. Yeah, good evening all. We are going to start the session. Now I request the Mr. Venkatesh Nayak to give a brief introduction about the speaker and the agenda of this program. Now I request Mr. Venkatesh, go ahead.
Yeah, hi all. A very good afternoon to everyone. I am Venkatesh Nayak. I would like to welcome you on the wonderful session on journalism and creative writing. It's a part of our webinar series. It's the second in its kind in a national level, and in general, it's a sixth series which we are conducting. And we thank my team members, DPWD team, and the higher education, which is a initiative of DPWD. So we hope this webinar will give you greater insights on your career and for your benefit of your future. So I would tell you some things, great things about our speaker, Mr. Subramani, who is a renowned journalist from visually impaired community. Mr. Subramani has become totally blind at his 18. He dreamed to become an accountant, but later his perception has changed and he got to know about the technology and stuff. And later he explored himself and he get into the journalism. He have started his career as a freelancer, and he been into freelancing for 5 years, and later in 2004 he became a journalist in India's renowned English daily, which is a so many applause from various organizations and a community at large. And so Mr. Subramani had his memoir on Random House India. I think he is working on his second memoir with Random House India. So really, I hope his life journey and his thoughts and his session and speech will help you to betterment of your personality. And I'll over to my microphone to the Mr. Mahesh, who will guide you and who will be assisting you regarding technical part, and then we will turn up mic to Mr. Subramani, who is our speaker. So over to you, Mr. Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Venkatesh. A very
Yeah, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Very good evening to all. I wholeheartedly welcoming you all to this wonderful session on um, journalism and creative writing. Our team is very happy to know that you showed lot of interest to participate in this productive session. Uh, as you all know that we are going streaming on YouTube. You can join in YouTube streaming also and subscribe to our channel. We'll share the link, and we have a few instructions to all the participants to run this session effectively and in a productive manner. First, I request everyone to rise. If you have any questions after the speaker's explanation, you can raise your hand and ask your question. Second, you can also comment in the chat box so that we can read on behalf of you. Okay. I request you
Hello.
to please join with your own name so that it
Hello.
will become easy to interact with you. Next,
Now the
please
conference call.
mute yourself if it's not required. Okay, now I request our eminent speaker Subramanian Garu to take
Hello.
this session and go ahead. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Good evening and good afternoon to all of you. They say that you need to dream with your eyes open, but I can tell you that you don't need eyes at all to dream. All that you need is a passionate heart and enthusiasm, and also an idea of what exactly you want to do in life. If you know all these three things, it is possible for anybody to achieve your dream. And in fact, that's how I achieved my dream. Let me talk about myself a little bit. Uh, when I was about 15 or 16, I'm sure you it would have it's kind of the same for all of you, because the first thing that everybody asks us is, what do you want to become in life? So I faced that question once upon a time, and I used to talk about becoming a chartered accountant, but that was when I was about 15. If you go back, this is 1987. 1987 was when I had my eyesight. I was dreaming about a career as a chartered accountant, and then I was the darling of all the family gatherings, because everybody talks about you, in a very proud way, especially if you are a winning horse. All that I used to think of the children like horses. All the horses, if everybody knows that the horse is going to win, they're going to bet, and they're going to bet very big on the horse. So I was once upon a time a winning horse. Everybody thought so. But suddenly, what happened at the age of 16? I went for a routine eye checkup to a doctor, my ophthalmologist, and then he said there's something wrong with my retina. And I went for a checkup for about a couple of more times, and then he said, "You've got a genetically ingrained retinal condition. It is called retinitis pigmentosa, which means you will become blind." It was like a shock. It was like a huge shock to me, to my family, especially to my mother, who has been my greatest supporter. And we thought my future was over. Everything was over for me. That's what everybody said. Very strangely, I don't know, my friends, about you. I believe that life is a trade, it's a trade off. You give something to get something. And I didn't realize it when I was young, but I felt very happy to give up my eyesight for something bigger, the ability to dream. Because the ability to dream is something which not everybody can talk about. You come across a lot of sighted people. How many people that you think of has the ability to dream big? I'm talking about dreaming big is, doing something that usually everybody thinks to be very difficult. Okay. And if you ask me how or why I started to dream big, why I started to sort of think about becoming a journalist when I was about 17 or 18, I don't have a definite answer. But I can definitely tell you that as a very young man, I was very interested in collecting information. I was very, very interested and passionate about talking to people, and I had a very good idea of what's happening around me. I guess these are the three very important things for anybody to become a journalist or to have the budding interests of journalism, a budding interest in journalism. Also an interest on, an interest about in writing and language, because after all, if you want to be a journalist, the second most important, the first most important thing, of course, is the ability to collect information, and the second most important thing, of course, is your ability to express yourself. Because if you're a journalist, people expect you to write and communicate very clearly. So I was interested in all these things as a child. I still remember this was about my eighth class. I used to hate school. I'm sure a lot of you agree with me, right? School is like, I don't know, for some people it's fun, but for me, school is like a very sad thing. Saturday, Sunday, you just enjoy like this. And then Monday morning, the first thing you smell coffee, and then your mom's voice asking you to get ready for school. That is like death knell. It is like uh, something like equal to going to a funeral. I don't know how you feel. That's how it used to feel for me. So, but I used to enjoy one thing in school. What's that? That's the assembly. Because in assembly, my teachers used to read the most important headlines of the day, and I used to pay a lot of attention to it even as a kid. And then I used to come home and talk about it to my mother. So these were the indications. Also, I was interested in tennis. I don't know how many people follow sports other than cricket. I'm a very passionate tennis fan and football fan. I mean, as early as in 1990s, I started following the English Football League, the Spanish football. You can talk about it, and I'd be very happy. And I used to have a lot of hearty conversation with people about sports. Okay, so these are the indications that a person is interested in journalism. Thankfully for me, at a very early age, I recognized these interests of mine. And of course, there was nobody to encourage, because the awareness about a career in journalism was very less among people around me. Of course, on top of it, I was also losing my eyesight. So everybody thought that my life was virtually over. So now I'm no longer the competitive horse. I'm no longer the competitive horse on which people would like to bet money. Now they are betting money whether this horse will get up and walk, or whether this horse will lie down forever. Okay. But everybody is sure that I don't have a future. Okay. I'm sure people have told you the same thing, because the moment they realize that you are blind, the first thing they say is that you have no future, right? But I want you to believe in yourself. Don't believe what other people say. Okay. Because there is a book titled, Why Do You Care What Other People Say? Why do you care what other people say? Because if you care about what other people say, you start living their lives. You will forget your life. And thankfully for me, I had a very supporting family. I had a very supporting mother who stood by me and said, "You're free to do what you want to do in life." And because of that, I did my bachelor in English literature and master's in English literature. One thing that I must tell you, that by the time I turned 18, my eyesight was gradually going down and going down. By the time I wrote my 12th exam, I had only half the vision. Probably I was below the legal blindness criteria, because it was very poor. And I thought I was going to lose the exam. But finally, I scored about 64%. That was a miracle again. And then, I went to college. College was like I was a blind man. Previously, I used to walk alone, but now somebody has to hold my hand and lead me into the campus. And the early days were very, very difficult, because I don't know what it is to be blind. Some of you may have RP. If you have RP, I'm sure you understand the kind of experience that I'm talking about. It was very traumatic, because you don't know how to behave as a blind man, because the society expects you to behave in a certain way if you're blind, but you don't know how to behave, right? You are not, as far as you are concerned, as far as I was concerned, inside my heart, I was still a normal person. Being blind does not change me in terms of who I was. Okay, so I behaved normally, and I used to fall over things, I used to kick things, I used to create a lot of chaos. But it was overall it took a lot of time for me to learn that I need to have proper mobility skills. And then slowly, it took again, I went to the CBM, Christopher Blendole Mission campus in Chennai, to learn mobility and orientation. And initially, I was very shy to take up the white cane. You know why? Because I didn't want to advertise my blindness. Okay, carrying the white cane for me was like putting an advertisement about my blindness. I didn't want to do that. But only later I realized that without mobility, it will be very difficult for you to even talk about a career. Forget about following one. It's very difficult even to talk about a career. So that is how I started to think about my career in college, because college gave me a lot of time. I was an English literature student. I mean, which means even studying was fun, because you'll be studying poetry, prose, drama, and only that you should not listen to other people, because they always keep saying that, oh, what, you don't have a future, you don't have, that's almost like a song, it's a refrain. Everybody keeps telling you, you don't have a future, you don't have a future. The only that you shouldn't care about it. Thankfully, again, because my family was very supportive, I didn't worry about it after beyond a point. Of course, I had wonderful friends, people who used to come down and read books for me. And since I was a late blind, I was completely, my knowledge of Braille was nothing. If you're a student of Hadley School for the Blind, like they say in Hadley School, I was a blind illiterate. Okay. It was very funny, because even after my master's in English literature and so on and so forth, I used to keep a thumb impression like a villager, and it used to sound very funny. So that's when I started to think seriously about my career when I was in college. And I noticed a lot of things about myself. Okay, so let me give you the first and the most important tip about choosing a career. Okay, choosing a career is different from choosing a job. Okay, another problem with our system is that everybody keeps telling you that you should get a good job. Why do you study? You have to get a good job. But studying is not for that. Studying is basically an effort of self discovery. You have to learn about yourself. How many people can say with confidence that I know about myself? I know this is what I am. And how many people can confidently communicate what they are? Okay, a lot of people go to interviews. I'm sure a lot of you are also going to interviews, and the first question they ask you there is, tell me about yourself. Okay, so that 60 seconds, what are you going to tell about yourself? Okay, and if you want to tell a good answer, a convincing answer, you should know about yourself, right? So if you want to know about yourself, what you should do is to use the free time, use the time that you spend in college to discover about yourself, because the greatest discovery in the world is not discovering an island, or discovering a comet, or discovering a new substance, chemical substance, or whatever. It is discovering yourself. Self discovery is the greatest discovery. Take any good leader. It could be Steve Jobs, it could be Satya Nadella, it could be Bill Gates, or Tim Cook. Whoever you take, they first become self-aware. They are aware of ourselves. So self-discovery is something this is tip number one that I'm giving you here. Tip number one that I have learned. This is not that I'm not a professor here. I'm telling you everything that I've learned, and which is self discovery. Self discovery is the greatest joy of life. You feel so happy when you understand, oh wow, this is what I am. Okay, well, so that is how it happened to me. I started noticing my interest in talking to people, my interest in communications, my interest in language, and my interest in research, because journalism is also part of the work that you do in journalism is also research. So these are the things that thrilled me beyond any imagination. It was so thrilling and enthusiastic for me as a student. But whenever I used to talk about journalism, again, I had the same problem. Okay, people either used to take pity of me or they used to laugh at my face, because this was 1994. This is the technological dark age that I'm talking about. you know Internet was only just come in. Okay, people at that time, even people didn't even know about the emails. Okay, and then what happened? uh, Jaws was not heard of. I mean, some people had the privilege. Some very rich people, blind people, had Jaws. It was not a commonly used screen reader. Screen reader itself was not a common idea. Computer was not a common idea. So I'm talking about that kind of a time in our history. So that was when I used to talk very passionately about journalism, and people used to ask me a lot of hard questions. Okay, good that you want to be a journalist, but tell me, how will you move around? How will you go to a place and interview somebody? How will you write down your report? No answers for me. I had no convincing answers. I used to feel hurt. I used to feel really bad. I used to come home feeling depressed because I knew exactly what I want to do. But at the same time, there are some practical questions to be answered. I had no answers for that. Okay. But there is a catch here. There is an important thing that I want you to note, which is, even if you don't have a practical answer, don't give up, don't quit, don't stop what you think is the best thing for you. Okay, a lot of people will say, no, because you can't answer these questions, you can't choose a particular career. They will say that. They will let them say whatever they want to say. Okay, because they don't know what inside of you, who you are. They don't know that. Only you know that. Okay, so my second tip of the evening: don't give up. Okay, don't stop dreaming because someone else is saying that it's not possible. One is self discovery, second is don't give up because somebody else is saying. As long as you feel happy about it, or happy about a career, you got to follow it. Number three, don't choose a career for money. Okay, money is only half of the thing. Okay, I was listening to a wonderful self-help speaker, motivational speaker called Og Mandino. Okay, Og Mandino, Augmandino, Og Mandino. So Og Mandino, it's there on YouTube. You can watch yourself. So he was talking about the 1925 meeting. There was a meeting that happened in New York. Five of the most powerful people, one steel baron, one government minister, there was another minister, head of the stock exchange. All these 5 to 6 people met in a place in New York about an important matter. And then what happened about 23 years later, there was a newspaper that wanted to find out what happened to all these powerful people. You know what they found? One person was actually one of the persons actually shot and killed himself. Another person was completely bankrupt and he was jailed in a fraud case. The third person was almost mad and he was spending his time in a mental asylum. The fourth person was actually almost dying, and he has to seek the government's permission to die as a free man at home. So all of them were completely gone, completely emotionally wrecked. And the reason is because everybody thought money was the biggest thing in the world. They were chasing after money. And in that process, they somehow gave up on living their own lives. So that is the lesson that Og Mandino wants to give. And I find it to be very important when it comes to choosing your career. I'm not saying don't earn. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to say. Money is, when you put a priority list, money is on the top of the list. It is the most important thing in the world, but that's not the only thing about your life. So don't believe when somebody else is saying that you have to study to earn, because that is not the purpose of studying. Okay, the purpose of studying, as I said, one is self discovery, and second is to understand, to acquire some skills. Okay, so don't believe in what other people are saying about your career, and don't decide it for money's sake. Okay, so that's what I did when I finished my master's in English literature. This is in 1995. I was I wanted to do something. I really wanted to do. So I gave it a shot at civil services. Again, when you are young, it's easy for people to confuse you. Okay, they confused me also. Of course, I got confused, and I gave a shot at the civil services exam. And in those days, you have to go to Delhi to write. If you're blind, you can't write in regional centers. So I went to Delhi with a friend of mine, and I started. I wanted to write the exam, and of course, I wasn't successful about it, because that was, my heart wasn't there. My heart wasn't there. So I came back and then joined the journalism course in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. And in 1 year's time, I had the degree in my hand. That is when my fourth and probably the most important tip is coming. The fourth and the most important tip is, we all think that if you have qualification, you get a job. Qualification again is very important criteria for applying for a job or getting a job. But even the most important thing is not your degree. Your degree is just a piece of paper. It says you're qualified. The most important thing is what kind of skills that you have. When I talk about skills, which means one, communication, two, technical skills, three, personality. Okay, how many of you can answer a question without feeling diffident, without feeling shy? Okay, four, and again I would think that this is the most important thing. Going to an interview room or going to meet other people with high self-esteem, because most of the times, I'm sure you agree, I get this question from a lot of students. Sir, should I inform the employer or the company that I am blind? Because the moment I tell them that I'm blind, they will not include me. They will not choose me. They will not. They will say that they will refuse to give me the job, right? A lot of people ask me this question. I want to tell them, and a very important thing, this is very important. I want to tell them, and I tell them very, very, firmly, please put that in your resume. Just put it on in a big caption that I am blind. And why am I saying this? Because if you don't feel uncomfortable about your blindness, other people will not feel uncomfortable. If you feel comfortable about who you are, other people will also feel comfortable about who you are. If you are feeling uncomfortable, bad, defeated, sad, depressed, and then shy, everybody else will also be feeling the same. They will not have any confidence in you. In short, if you don't trust yourself, if you don't like yourself, who else will like you? Okay, if I don't like myself, you can't like me, right? I have to like myself. So first of all, understand that blindness is not your fault. Blindness is not bad. Blindness is not negative. Blindness is a condition. That's all. And blindness also is allowing you to get a very, very unique experience of life. Okay, things that other people usually cannot experience. I'll tell you a couple of my stories. These are my favorite stories, and I keep telling this everywhere. And I think I'll share this with you. See, my office is in the second floor of Deccan Herald office in MG Road. And usually I go in the afternoon shift, and I have to, take two flight of steps and go to the second floor. And usually what happens is somebody goes ahead of me, opens the glass door for me to get into my office room. So I usually go get inside, turn to my right, and say thank you. So usually it happens almost all of the times, you can say. So one day I was going into the office, the glass door opened, and just turned to my left and said thank you, and then walked inside. And then I had to come out. The door was open again, and then I turned to my right and said thank you. Then I entered again. The door was open, and I was saying thank you. That was when my photographer noticed me. Then he walked up to me and asked me, Subramani, who are you thanking? I said, yeah, somebody is keeping the door open for me. Then he told me, no, 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 the spring door was broken. So it was like we had a good laugh about it, you know, both of us had a good laugh about it. So uh, if you are feeling embarrassed, if you are feeling shy and hurt, and if you're not comfortable about being blind, then what happens when somebody points out a mistake? Then you feel hurt. You don't know how to communicate with him. You are worried that that person will judge you as somebody who is inferior, somebody who is less of value. It affects your confidence and your ability to work effectively, right? That is why I say that if you're comfortable about your blindness, you will face anything in the world comfortably. That's another thing that I learned. Okay, now that I've come out of the journalism school, and then I was going around in newspapers. I worked as an intern for the New Indian Express in Chennai. That was about a month and 2 months. That was where I learned another greatest secret about journalism and writing, which is you don't have to work. If you want to be a journalist, you don't have to. You can write, you can freelance, you can publish articles in your name, and they pay you for that. Okay, as I told you, if you want to be a journalist, you need to have these three important skills. One is your ability to gather information, two, your ability to research and substantiate and verify, fact check. They call fact check, right? Fact check is what, how do you do that? You do it by researching. And then three is communicating it, presenting it in a clear way. So clear presentation skills. So if you have all these three skills, you can be a journalist, pretty much a journalist, even from today. You know, you can write, you can contribute to your local newspaper, and the local newspaper, when they publish your article, they send you a check. Okay, that's how I started writing. That's how I started building what is called a portfolio for myself. You know, I was known, in fact, in 1998 to 90, about 2000, 2001, I used to freelance uh, across the board. A lot of newspapers, starting from a daily to a weekly, news magazines, which are weekly and monthly. So, which means I had to learn a lot of subjects, and the fact that I was ready to learn was very helpful. I was able to learn a lot of things. So yeah, so I used to earn, I mean, you won't believe, I used to earn something like 20 to 22,000 rupees a month without even having to work. That was when I got a job in Deccan Herald in 2004. Okay, Deccan Herald was it's like I was that has been my dream. Okay, my dream has been to work for a newspaper. Mind you, in 1994, people were skeptical about me getting a job. Right, 10 years later, I walked into Deccan Herald. I got a job. Of course, there were a lot of people who helped me in the process. I must acknowledge my friends, my family. A lot of people supported me. Support is okay. I'm sure without the support, it's very difficult for you to do, and you should be grateful for the support. But you decide. Okay, the decision is yours, the idea is yours, you have to move forward. People can only play a supporting role. If you are not sure about what you want to do, even 1 lakh people supporting you, it's not going to help. Okay, so yeah, so in Deccan Herald, what happened was I was even luckier because I was writing about technology. So it was in my time in Deccan Herald, I happened to see the newsroom. Newsroom is where the news happens. I'll tell you some of the important things that I've happened to witness from a close distance. Number one, this was the time when Bangalore was actually really a wonderful technology hub, and also a very open, a place for learning for people with disability and for the blind. Okay, so I firsthand saw a lot of technical training being given to the blind. I was able to write about it, and in general news, I saw how the first metro lines started to come in terms of technology, which is what I was largely writing about. Um, I was firsthand witnessed the birth of the smartphone, the way people were picking up the smartphone, the growth of Google, big tech giants like Google, Apple, and some of the Indian tech giants software services providers like Infosys and TCS, and also Flipkart and all the other product providers. So it was a roller coaster journey for me, because I was writing about them, I was talking to them regularly, and some of the leaders of the technology industry. Uh, uh, you know, it was a very wonderful learning experience for me. That's about 13 years, and then my newspaper said, okay, you start working from the desk. Okay, what is a desk? A desk is when other people write their reports and send it to you, and you have to uh, edit. I mean, which means your language skills must be absolutely on top of the world. Otherwise, you can't do this. And also, mind you, this is a very deadline-oriented job. You have to do something in half an hour's time, in a 1 hour's time. There is a possibility that you will make mistakes. All of us make mistakes. There is nothing wrong in making mistakes, but unless you make mistakes, you can't learn. So that's not the point here. The point is you learn the most important skill of doing things within a deadline, even whether it's writing or editing. That's another thing that you'll have to do as a journalist. Instantly, immediately, you have to convert something into news and send it to people. So that's something that I started to do from the desk, and then that is when I realized that I also started associating with a lot of people who are researching about retinitis pigmentosa and finding a cure for it. And uh, slowly, I realized that I lost my sight when I was 18 in 1991. Okay, between 1991 and 2011, a lot of things about our country has changed. Technology has transformed our country. The software revolution was sweeping through the world, and we all, everybody had smartphones, from the urban to the rural areas. But in spite of all that, there was no awareness about a condition like retinitis pigment. That's when I thought I should write a book, because writing my book would mean basically to let people understand what it becomes, what it takes for someone to lose his eyesight. Losing his eyesight is losing his confidence, losing his future, losing his uh, you know his self confidence. It means a lot. Losing, almost like losing your life. People don't understand you, trust you, and every step of your way you have to fight. uh, I thought I should write about it because I want people to understand. That's when 2014 my book came about, and as Venkatesh has mentioned, I am working on my second book, which is about my how I started my journey towards journalism and then beyond. So I want to talk about something else that I have discovered in the last 10 years, which is blogging. See, blogging is one way in which you can fine tune your writing skills. I'm sure a lot of you think that writing skills are meant only for writers. It is wrong. Writing skills are not just meant for writers. Writing skills are important for anybody. If you're a person who's running a company of your own, you should be able to communicate the idea, the vision, the mission, the products, and how clearly it is helping people. If you don't communicate that part clearly, then you will fail as a business entrepreneur. Okay, so communication and writing is meant for a lot of different things. I'm sure you have this experience. If you go into a doctor's clinic, maybe you want to check for a fever, or you want to check for some other disease or an ailment, uh, if a doctor communicates well with you, instantly establishes a rapport with you and talks to you very nicely, you feel comfortable, right? If on the contrary, if the doctor is not communicating properly, you don't trust him, right? You don't trust, even if the doctor is very efficient, you don't trust him. Why? Because communication is the best way for human beings to create. That's how our brains are created. That's how we are evolved. We have evolved as human beings in all these millions and billions of years. So communication is important, writing is important. Even if you work as an accountant, you have to write a financial report, which means you should be able to clearly write what the report talks about. Even if you're a technical head, you'll have to make presentations, you'll have to write documents about your work activities. People who are good communicators are always trusted. So writing is very important. So that's why I'm saying it's important that you develop the writing well. It is something that is a lot of people neglect, something that a lot of people neglect in students especially. How many people go to English classes? I don't know. Most of you, I think, have bunked your must would be bunking your English class. I won't blame you, because sometimes the professors can be boring, but you should understand that communication is important. Okay, so blogging is one way of fine tuning your communication skills, and also it is recently I'm coming to discover that blogging is also a good way to monetize your skill. That's something that I want to talk about. And when I was doing blogging, I also came across this wonderful concept called storytelling. What is storytelling? Storytelling is basically, uh, you think storytelling is grandmother's thing. You kind of sleep in the bed, and then somebody tells you a bedtime story to put you to sleep. No, but storytelling is the most sophisticated form of communicating. Suppose if somebody asks me, who are you? I tell them that I am a journalist uh, with blindness, and I'm very passionate about writing. This is a way of communicating about yourself, but this is a part of storytelling, personal narrative. If you know how to tell a story, you can tell even a small information like this in a powerful way. Okay, so in recent times, in the last couple of years, I've been researching about storytelling. I've learned storytelling on my own, and then I realized that in the last 20-22 years, all that I have been doing in my life is telling stories for newspaper readers. After all, what is journalism? Journalism is nothing but telling stories. Okay, so but I don't call it storytelling. So it didn't occur to me, but only now I realized that that's what I've been doing. So, so I teach storytelling to especially to students to understand themselves. See, storytelling is the best way of understanding yourself. After all, we tell some stories about ourselves to ourselves, right? How many people you heard telling you that I'm not good enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not creative enough? This is one kind of a story that you are telling about yourself. Don't forget it. And if you change the way you're talking about yourself to yourself, you become, you change as a person. Because uh, if you know how to program yourself positively, the life results will also be very positive. That's something that I've been learning to teach, and I've been teaching. Teaching is nothing but sharing what I've learned. That's all. I don't want to hide anything. I don't want to make you go around the town like I did when I was young. I want to give it to you straight so that it's useful to your life. Okay, so that is something that I've been doing the last few months. And as I said, my second book is going to be out. The last and final thing that I want to give you as a tip is that dreams are meant to come true. So don't give up dreaming. Don't give up dreaming. Just believe that you can. If you believe that you can, you will be an achiever. And then change your story, change your lives. If you change the way you look at yourself, you can change the way you live. You'll become a successful and a positive human being. I guess I will stop here and I'll be very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for sharing with us the valuable information. It will help our upcoming writers. Now, request all the participants, if you have any doubts or queries, please raise your hand. I will allow you to ask the question. First, yeah, Shivani Kasu, I request her to unmute and ask the question. Shivani, ask your question.
Um, Hi, sir. Hi, sir. A pleasant good evening to you, and I'm sure that we are very happy to be with you today. And
Yeah, hi Shivani, tell me.
and I have a few queries about how to start our writing. In the sense, every time I be motivate for listening to speeches and for listening to things.
Yeah,
When coming to the practical, I feel a little scary because writing something needs a lot of vocabulary. The first thing, so how could we do that? Like, how can we begin our journey with?
I'll give you 5 tips to writing. And
Yes.
okay, before that, let me dispel a few myths that we have about writing. Number
Yeah.
one is you don't have to learn so much of vocabulary. There is a famous quotation by Mark Twain. He says, "It doesn't matter whether I write police or cop, I'm going to get the same money." Right?
Yeah.
You can the same way you can say emolument, emolument, or you can say tip. Somebody is tipping you, somebody is giving you a tip, or somebody is giving you an emolument. It doesn't matter. Okay, you
Yeah.
can write simply. In fact, I would suggest you that please learn to practice writing the way you talk. Because if you read my writing, you go to grapplingwithrp.wordpress.com. That's my blog. And you can also go Google me in Deccan Herald. Google me and you will get some of my Deccan Herald articles. So all that I do is I write the way I speak. Okay, why? Because even an eighth class kid, even someone who's semi-literate in English should be able to understand, and that makes marketing sense, right? Instead of 5 people or 2 people reading an article, if 10 people, 20 people read because it's simple and interesting, they will all like you, right? You'll get a lot of readership. It makes a lot of sense. That is number one. As far as writing is concerned, I want you to do these 5 things, which will help you. Okay,
Yeah.
this is number one. First thing is set an intention. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that if you unless you have a certain theme or a target or a goal, what you want to write about, a subject, what you want to write about. It can be anything. It can be an experience that you had this morning in the market, or it can be some conversation that you had that triggered a memory. It can be anything, but be very clear about the subject matter. Okay.
Yeah.
Second thing is sometimes you will have to research. Sometimes your information should be correct. You can even write a novel. You can even write a short story, but certain details about society. For example, a police station or a way it functions, or maybe an office or how it functions. These are certain factual details that you cannot afford to miss. So research and understand the facts and use them when you're writing. Third is first before writing it, before even writing your article, have an outline. Okay, have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, what do you want to achieve and how you want to communicate? Just have an outline and just follow the outline. Okay.
Yeah.
Fourth one is the most important thing: self editing. Self editing is basically keep reading and rereading what you've written so that you are absolutely sure that you kind of remove not just the spelling and the grammar mistakes, but also the way you have expressed yourself. You can refine it. It's like a shoe polishing. You polish the article until it becomes very clear and very, very precise and good to read. And the last point is you should have a target audience. Okay, you should know who you're writing for. I can't say that in a general article, maybe if it's a news article, you can say you're writing for a general audience. But even there, I feel that there are a certain set of people who follow sports. There are a certain set of people who follow local events. There are a certain set of people who follow national politics. So you should learn where the interests of your audience is, and then target it. Then it will become successful. It will be widely read, and you will also see a lot of success with your writing. Is it clear?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. And I'm really thank you for this answer, because previously I used to think I am very poor in writing skills because of my vocabulary. Instead, I can communicate well with the people
Yeah.
rather
No,
writing.
the way
So,
you're speaking, I'm sure your grammar is also good. You don't have to really worry. And I think the first point, you remember what I said? Just stop worrying about what other people think. Because
yeah.
other people can say a lot of things about. I'll tell you, this is a joke. When Kushwant Singh wrote his most famous novel called Train to Pakistan, and he
Oh,
gave it to an American friend of his, okay, and he
yeah.
asked her to read. She said, "This is a crazy novel. Who's going to read this crap? Throw it away." That's what she said. But the same lady, after he published it and it became a bestseller, and it became a sort of a must read about Indian literature, that lady called him and apologized to him, saying that, "I'm sorry, I was wrong in saying that it was a crap." But so people can change their opinion about your writing. But only thing is, you should have the self confidence to keep writing. Writing is again a thing that you should practice every day. It's like a cricketer getting into the net and practicing his shots. You should keep practicing your writing in order for it to become better, right?
Yes, sir, that is true. And one thing I get, really sometimes what I feel confusion is this, sir. From where I have to start writing, from which content I have to take or think is the best thing to start with
Whatever
or
is
write.
close to your heart,
Yeah.
wherever your heart. See,
Either
for
it is
example,
my,
my heart lies in storytelling. My heart lies in storytelling. So whatever is your heart is, it can be domestic work, it can be office, or it can be. See, you can write pretty much about anything if you know the subject very correctly or clearly. You can write about anything.
yes, sir. Sometimes I think that I could maybe write about myself and my experiences throughout the life
Yeah,
of
that's
what
called
I,
memoir. You can write about it, of course.
yeah, sometimes, but then again, I give up. I sometimes, give up with because of my skills and because of my
don't
vocabulary.
let don't let the scary part of you take over. Let the creative part of you guide you. Follow your heart. Okay,
Yeah.
good luck with you. Let's listen to other people's questions.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shivani. Next, I request Hina Sheikh. Ask your questions. Hina Sheikh. I think the person is not there. He's not responding. We'll go to other person. Yeah. Ganesh, I request Ganesh to unmute and ask the question.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's audible. You can ask the question.
Who's
Yeah,
this?
good evening, sir. This is Hina Sheikh from the state of Maharashtra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the thing is blogging is something which fascinates me a lot. So
Okay.
I'm just confused how to get started with it and how can we make it a source of income? So that's what
Okay.
my question is.
See, blogging is currently the hottest thing when it comes to content creation. See, okay, first of all, you should understand the terminology. So what we do by blogging or anything is we create something called content. Content is basically three kinds. One is written, okay, video, and audio. So I'm primarily when I talk about blogging, it's about text. Okay, so you can create a blog to achieve three things. One is create exclusive set of audience to follow you. Okay, that is one thing that you achieve out of blogging. Number two is the moment you get more audience, I don't have to tell you, you get more audience, you get a lot of ways to monetize the income. One of the ways that people like me, I look at monetizing is by offering courses, offering exclusive content, offering certain skill development
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
stuff like that. So maybe if you're starting a cooking blog, you can charge them for an exclusive session with them about a cooking a recipe. um, there are different ways of monetizing. um, uh, you'll have to experiment with it. Okay, one thing is, once you create an audience, then it's all about experimenting, and then finding out what is good for your audience. If they are comfortable about paying you, and if you're fixing the right price, then it's all possible.
All right. And sir, another question is, hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
And sir, another question is, I was just wondering, is it imperative to go a certain course to be a successful blogger?
I wouldn't say course in a very academic sense, but yeah,
Yeah,
you got to learn the tricks of the trade. You should learn how to create an effective content, how to write. For example, writing is a we all think writing is an intellectual exercise. If you go with that kind of an attitude, you can't be a successful blogger.
yeah,
In order for you to write, you should have clarity, you should have accuracy, and you should think about your audience, not about your writing. Most of the times what happens, we
yeah,
write for our
exactly.
pleasure. That's
Yes.
not how you earn out of blog. You earn out of blog when you make your blog an interesting place for people to get some fresh information. Okay, I write about storytelling. I mean, for me, my topic is essentially a little difficult, so sometimes people don't understand storytelling straight away. But I tell them that, if you learn to kind of turn your stories, that becomes your personal brand. That's how you build a brand. It could be a personal brand, or it could be a sort of a company brand or corporate brand or anything. Okay, so likewise,
Yeah,
you should
absolutely.
first of all turn look at writing as a way in which you are uh, uh, looking at your audience. It's not about you. Writing is not about you. Writing is about them. Okay, if you
All right.
learn how to satisfy them, they come back to you.
All right. And sir, being a person with vision impairment, can we do it independently?
Yes, maybe the choice of choosing a picture may be a problem, but I think that there are ways. See, what I do is basically I ask a sighted friend to choose a picture for me. You can choose, people without copyright issues. You can choose pictures from Unsplash, and there are other sources from which you can choose a thing, and then you can put it on your blog. That's the only place where you probably need sighted assistance. Apart from that,
Yes,
if you
yes.
go to WordPress, you can manage the whole thing uh, quite independently. I don't have a. I've been writing this particular blog that I write now, grappling with RP. This I've been doing for about 6 7 years now, and I never had a problem with that.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Inaji. If you have any doubts, you can type in chat box also. We will pick it. We pick a few questions. Sir will answer your question. Now, a request: Teach Solo by the name. You can unmute and ask the question.
Oh, good evening, sir.
Danny?
Sir, this is Solomon. Sir, you people are a role model for us, like Gary O'Donoghue of BBC and Subramaniam of The Hindu and you of Deccan Herald. So I am very happy to talk to you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, this actually, where do you see the place for Braille in journalism? Because you got to do a lot of reading, as you have explained. So where do you see the place for Braille, number one? And number two would be people are using superfluous expressions like amazing, wonderful, loving, interesting, and so on and so forth. So is it right to be making use of all these superfluous expressions in blogs? Because I follow literature blogs where people are using inappropriately all those superfluous expressions.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question, Solomon. Yeah, first of all, let me talk about Braille. It's a very interesting question. See, I told you I've been a Braille illiterate ever since I became blind. This is effectively 3 decades now. And one of the problems that I face is that if I want to read out something, especially see my newspaper has started a podcast. I contribute to the podcast every now and then. And one of the problems that I have is, initially at least, I thought I wish I had learned Braille because, I'd be able to take notes and consult and read it immediately. If I want to quote something or read something, knowing Braille will help. It's easier to sort of read. Without Braille, it's slightly difficult. I'm trying to do it, but I know that I struggle a lot. Okay, so the use of Braille comes especially in audio and visual medium, because suppose if you want to present something and without having to let the jaws come in the way or the screen reader come in the way, or if you don't want to wear a headset, then if you keep a Braille notes of what you want to talk, or at least the hints, it's much easier. So Braille is definitely helpful. It has a place. The only problem is that a lot of people like me who have become gradually blind, who suffered gradual vision loss, somewhere I think we failed to see the importance of Braille. In my case, I tell you, somebody has actually scared me. They said that you have to split your skin on the finger to read Braille. I mean, I got really scared. I thought, why should I scrape my finger? Why should I hurt my finger to learn Braille? I mean, I think people thought that, the finger is kind of not very tender, when you grow up. I mean, when you're small, it's easier to learn Braille. When you grow up, sometimes maybe the sensitivity is lost. Maybe that's why they said that. I don't know, but I got really scared. That is number one. Number two is that, what's your second question? I just forgot your second question.
Sir, there's superfluous expressions.
Expressions. See, the problem is if you don't understand the functionality of language or how the language works in a blog or in any communication, you kind of misuse it. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is practically happening to me when I go to a provision shop or somewhere. You would have come across the same thing. People confuse the word flavor and fragrance, right? If I usually buy a lot of deodorant. When I go to a shop and ask that I want a certain brand of deodorant, the first thing the shop guy asks me, which flavor of deodorant you want. I wanted to tell him that I'm not going to taste it with my tongue. I wanted to smell it. So it can only be fragrance, it can't be flavor. But unfortunately, that is the limitation of learning English in our kind of an environment. So you are talking about adjectives. Basically, all that you mentioned, all these are superfluous languages, basically using a lot of adjective without substance. That's what happens. What is wonderful? You can say wonderful about something, maybe in a very informal expression, informal context. But this actually is dangerous when it comes to writing something like a blog, because you're not specific, you are not to the point. See, when you say that this soap smells wonderfully, for example, just giving you an example, what this wonderful means, can you experience wonderful? If I say that use this soap on your skin and you'll get the shine of an actress, you can easily experience it. So it has to be more specific, something that people can imagine. Wonder is something that you can't imagine. Whereas shining skin is something that you can imagine. Lustrous skin is something that you can imagine. So, uh, giving an experience out of your writing is more important. That's why the superficial writing is not appealing to you. I'm not surprised because it won't appeal to me also. Even if I happen to read something there, I'll just close down the blog or the writing and go to the next one because it's not written well. It's obviously the writer is either lazy or limited in his language skills.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next, I request Manoj Kumarji. Unmute yourself and ask the question. I think he is not responding. Manoj Kumarji, if you are there, please unmute and ask the question.
Am I audible now? Am I audible?
Audible.
Yeah, you
Audible,
are.
audible. Okay.
Yeah. I'm Dr. Manoj Kumar Garg, assistant professor at Delhi University. I have one question.
Yeah.
I have faced some situation in my life. I have struggled a lot, and I work 15 to 16 hours a day, and I have 14 books with my name. And what happens?
Wow.
The other teachers who are my colleagues or in my department, they are, I would rather say, I won't use this word, but they are jealous of me since I'm
Right.
blind and I'm so successful as a writer and my books are appreciated everywhere. So do you face similar situation? They try to pull me down or show me that you are inferior or in that manner, since because they feel that we are sighted and you are visually challenged, and in this manner, do you face have you faced similar situation in your life?
No,
Thank you.
see, I'll tell you, not so much professionally, but I can tell you that when somebody, a new person comes into my department, he or she usually has a problem, looking at me because, if you look at the newsroom, the newspapers or magazines, there are about 100,000 publications in India, and only two of us are blind, completely blind, who work for a newspaper, that is okay. So they don't, this is not a situation where you come across a blind person at all. So they come inside and they look at me and they wonder what the hell this guy is doing here. Okay, but once they observe me, follow what I'm doing, and see, journalism that way is very good because here there is no influence, there is no pecking order, there's no prejudice. Okay, since largely because we are more exposed to the world better than any other profession, because we kind of come across some people, we come across people who actually struggle. We see a lot of suffering in our daily professional life. So it's not, I'm not surprised because if you see so much of suffering, that gives you a little bit of an open mind to look at a person as himself or herself without the stigma, without the usual stereotyping. So I guess I escaped that a little bit. But yes, sometimes it is a problem because a new person walks in and he has a problem understanding. But that's usually temporary. If he observes me or she observes me, usually they understand what I do. But anyway,
Thank you.
congratulations, Professor. You're doing a terrific job, and yeah, you should be the envy of your community. And I'm really, really happy for you. Thank you for it's a very wonderful opportunity to interact with you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next, Pratmesh Galaxy A21. Please, sir, unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, sir.
Hi,
Yeah.
Pratmesh.
Sir, I am writing one novel in my regional language, Marathi.
Yeah.
So that I want to know that how can uh, I want to just continue it, and I want to add some events through which I want to like convey the uh, uh, huge amount of stuff to the people in little bit words like. So can you give me some tips to do that?
The only best way to do that is there are two ways of writing. I tell you, I usually follow Stephen King. Stephen King tells, there are two ways of writing. One is when it comes to writing, write regularly, write freely. First of all, you write freely. Don't try to edit it. When you are writing, don't edit. Keep the editing after you complete the writing process. Okay. Usually what they say is every morning, if you write about 1,000 words or maybe 2,000 words, in a month you'll have 60,000 words. This is good enough for a book. Okay. Once you complete the process, once the book is completely written, when you put the end, then you start rewriting it. That is when you make it a little better, because you have an outline of the story. Once you write the first draft, you have the outline of the story. Then you start to put you focus on the writing. Then you sort of make it read better. Okay. Only by rewriting and revising and revising and revising and revising, you communicate better with few words. Okay. It can be any language can be anything, but without the rewriting process, the book will read very bad. So first you write without editing, and once you finish writing, then you start to rewrite it, revise it, and you get a better script.
Yeah, just sir, when I see my previous writing, na, so
Yeah.
I also get the conclusion that I have to rewrite it and I have to improve it, because it looks like I'm feeling that when I was in a good flow in writing, so that automatically I am getting good and good day by day.
No, it is better. I'll tell you, even the best of writers, nobody gets the first draft perfectly. Nobody. Even the best writer, you name any writer, they don't get the first draft perfectly. The perfect uh, writing comes only when you rewrite. Only when you rewrite. So rewriting is the best way to do that, Prathamesh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now I request the name Moto E4 Plus. Please unmute and ask your question. Moto E4 Plus.
Hello, can you hear now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we are getting.
Hi, I'm Bhavya.
Hi, Bhavya.
Sir, I have a doubt. Actually, so if we want to write an article, is there any process? Like, for example, I'm going to give. So if we want to write a letter, so we have to write date, after that address, after that body of the letter, after that conclusion we are going to give, right? So like that, any process is there to write an article?
Yeah. The process is very simple. Okay.
So what is the process?
The process is basically, don't keep the best thing for the last. Put the best thing first. That is what we call a hook. Okay. The first few sentences of an article should be absolutely interesting, so that because the first task for a writer is to hold the attention of the reader. Okay. If your first paragraph is not interesting, it is quite possible that the reader will stop reading. That's not what you want, right? So make sure that you hook. It's called a hook. You place the hook in the first sentence. For example, a blind man writing an article, question mark. Suppose if this is your first sentence, you get the attention of the reader. Why? Because a blind man writing, it looks like something interesting. So that's the first job as an article writer. The first job is to make your first paragraph or the first sentence Very, very interesting. That's the hook for the reader. Second thing is the explanation part. Basically articles are like you use two kinds of things. One is description and the other is quotation. So you should know where exactly you use the quotation and where exactly you use the description, especially when you're describing a place or describing an activity, describing an action. Suppose if you want to talk how I am speaking, with my hands, waving my hands, or sitting back, or sitting forward, or drinking a cup of tea, those things are description. Okay. And that you make it very appealing. Again, you describe it in a way in which you want the writer to sort of understand the situation in which you are sitting. Okay. Like it's like a picture, seeing a picture, a word
Okay.
picture. Okay. And then use quotation. Quotation is when you reveal the intention of the speaker, whoever that is. You reveal the intention of the speaker.
Yes, that's the main. I
These are the
mean,
main the three techniques that you use. Actually speaking, it depends on what kind of an article are you writing. Suppose if you're writing about technology, you want to describe how a particular smartphone is working.
what we want to tell, main thing, we have to raise that in the quotations.
Exactly. No. The speaker, whoever is telling you. For example, I am telling you this. So you want to say, Subramani said something. Okay,
Yes.
that goes into the quotation, and the quotation should actually reveal my intention. Okay, my what the crux, the gist of what I want to communicate. Okay, that's the quotation. So you got to be careful about the quotations. And then the thing is, like, if it's a technical article, you put a lot of technical information, but even there you put a human element, the interaction, the description, all these are human elements, so that people see it as a light reading article. You can't write a technical journal. If you write a technical journal, nobody will read because it's boring, right? So important things about writing an article is first, interesting paragraph is your first paragraph, and then you describe the place and the situation. Third is write the speaker's intention clearly inside the quotation. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
And another thing,
Yeah.
actually, so when I faced some challenges in my life when I was working as an HR. So we have to search resumes from the portal, and team leader is there for us, right? So they have to take care of us. So when we are going to get candidates for interview, sometimes they didn't take care. They didn't take care of them. So that time we used to feel like bad. And after that, so when we want to work in a, of course, you're working as a generalist now, right? And if we want to work as an anchor or a news reader, so why TV channels are not taking us?
No, because the way they look at us is different. See, as the professor earlier who said, sometimes they don't understand what we are capable of. That's why I'm
Of course,
saying it is very important
so
for you.
on that, I request you to write. We can write an article according to that to get awareness from for them, right?
Absolutely. That's why I see, personally, I write about all successful people with disability because I want the community to be aware of it. For example, even recently, I wrote about the struggles of people with disability in the lockdown situation because a lot of us have mobility issues. Most of us live in hostels, and there are a lot of struggles. So I want people to understand the struggles, but at the same time, if somebody is very successful, somebody is doing something successfully, especially in news media or news reading, so I'd like to write about it. Yeah, why not? Definitely, I'll support you in whichever way possible.
So I'm requesting you.
No
So
problem at
please
all.
write on that, or else if it's possible, I will also write.
You want to write, you write. No problem.
Yes, but it's better to write from you. So
Look, if you are having the desire to write, I understand that you have the desire to write. I'm here to help you, no problem. Because
sure.
I can help you with that also. We'll talk about it separately. But anyway, thanks for asking the question. And
Thank you.
good luck with you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Next question from Nagaraj Sutar. Please, sir, unmute yourself and ask the question. Nagaraj. Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, audible.
Am I audible?
Hi, Nagaraj.
Good evening, sir. Thanks a lot for sharing your inspirational story, which really motivated me. And yeah, so I have some questions.
Yep.
Could you please recommend some crucial books to enrich our vocabulary as well as writing skill,
See,
which you referred to during your college days?
yeah, no, the one book that comes to my mind is there's a book called Word Power Made Easy.
Yeah, yeah, by Norman Lewis, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Word Power
I
Made
have.
Easy is one book that is, see, basically you're talking about intermediate learners, not the
Yeah, yeah,
basic,
yeah.
not the very advanced. It is more an intermediate learner. Now, Word Power Made Easy is a very good book. And you get a lot of other books also, but Word Power Made Easy is one thing that I really found to be an excellent book to read.
Okay, thank you. Then, sir, I'm also English literature student.
Oh, good, good.
So, sir, like, could you please recommend some tips in analyzing the plot and character of any short story or novel?
No, basically, what I would tell you is this. Okay, see, if you want to analyze a text, if you want to analyze especially literary text, the
Yeah.
best thing to do is to be non-academical, unless you want to get a PhD or you want to work in a department, English department of any university. You can actually uh, learn to write what you like about something. Okay. uh, See, I do book reviews for my newspaper every now and then, and how I do it is, first of all, I organize my own feelings about the book.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
which place I really felt good, which are the characters that impressed me, which are the characters that I hated. Sometimes you were so emotionally involved with the book
Yeah.
that you sometimes hate certain characters. You don't like the character, or that character scares you. Write about all that. Write about how your
Okay.
true and honest feelings about a book or a short story. That becomes a very good analysis, in my opinion.
Okay, so for that, we have to contemplate a lot, right?
You'll have to, yeah, you have to read a lot. That's my first suggestion. Is like you read a lot. Read other people's reviews and suggestions. For example, AC Bradley, a lot of Shakespearean drama readers, they read AC Bradley. So maybe AC Bradley or some of the modern interpreters and analysts of Shakespearean plays. Maybe, yeah, you can start somewhere, which is first from the most famous, and then learn the art of analyzing a text without having to take any specific approach. Okay, especially not the academic approach. You take the common man's approach, so that you can write for a newspaper. That's my idea. If you take an academic approach, you can write for an academic journal, but
Yeah.
that's a different process. You'll have to do it in a different way. But in a common way, if you want to write for a common man, write like a common man. That's all.
Okay, okay. And sir, could you please repeat the spelling that you mentioned one YouTuber, right? Through which you
His name is Og Mandino.
one
AUG.
AUG.
Augustine. Short for Augustine is Og. AUG. Mandino. 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 Og Mandino.
Mandino. Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now there is a name Justin. So please unmute and ask the question.
Oh, don't tell me it's Justin Philip.
Justin. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Subramani, hi. Good evening.
My friend, Justin Philip, and fellow Rotarian. Nice to see you here, Justin. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is about the higher concepts in writing, grammar, syntax, spellings. Those are the low-level concepts.
Yeah.
What are the higher concepts in writing that one can focus on?
That is narration, description, dialogue attribution, And especially some one aspect which people don't pay much attention to is showing and not telling. For example, if I tell you that I walked in the hot sun, it's narration. It's telling you. But if you can even show by in your writing, which is the glistening of the sweat in the forehead, um, the heat that you can smell, the way the tar is melting below your feet. This is showing. Okay, so this area is pretty much lagging in most people's writings these days, especially in a lot of young writers. I don't really see much of this. That's something that people should focus. So it's a mixture of, see, what makes a successful short story or a novel is a very judicious and a very very clever combination of narration. Narration is equals action. Description is a place or a person, and then dialogue attribution is what they speak. So you combine this effectively to create a good reading experience. That's what you should focus on.
And is there a scope for starting a writing course?
Now you're going to be my competitor, I think. Because I'm yeah, there is definitely a scope for writing. That's what I just a while ago I told people that
Okay.
writing is not just for literary purposes alone. Okay, writing is important for people who want to communicate well about themselves and about their field of activity, or about their company, about their entrepreneurial endeavor. It could be anything. Definitely there's a scope for writing course, and yeah, why not?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next, I request Hemant Rao. Sir, please unmute and ask the question.
Good evening, sir. Am I
Good
audible?
evening, Hemant. Yeah.
Sir, I have 3 questions. So should I ask them all at once or one
First
by
of all, let me appreciate you for this. Okay, the first way to capture attention is to give things in numbers. 3 questions, pretty good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sir. My first question is, you emphasized about that research is very important for becoming a journalist, and it also is important in this era because we are flooded with information on all kinds of social media, and nobody does fact check and all. So
Yes.
my point is, we go through a lot of content in our day,
Yeah.
which sometimes is verified and sometimes isn't. So how important is it to take notes and later review them all and compile?
Absolutely important. If you want to be a journalist, or even if you're somebody who's getting into a departmental meeting, any kind of meeting, note taking is something. I've met a lot of scholars from the United Kingdom. What they say is that note taking is a must for them. Unfortunately, in our community, we don't somehow emphasize on that. Note taking is important because yes, that's the way you fact check. That's the way you kind of fact check what they said, and also what is being said. You kind of go into different books, dailies, newspapers, and then verify the correctness of it. Yeah, that's note taking is important. Yes.
So in a way, it's very beneficial if one develops a habit of taking notes of, like, if I have seen this video, I've attended this webinar, so I should take notes, like what output I have got and what exactly I have learned. So like after a week or after a month, also I can review and see how it affected my daily life. And
definitely, see, you have already a writing goal. I really like it because Mark Twain and a lot of famous writers, what they say? They say that if you want to actually become a good writer, you actually rewrite, just copy what the other writer has written. Suppose if you like a passage in a novel, just open the book and just copy it word by word, because that's one way of trying to understand the way it was written. it's like getting into the shoes of the writer. I mean, you're not going to publish it, so it's not plagiarism. Plagiarism is when you publish it, but imitating it, they say that imitation precedes creation. So if you want to be a creative writer, or if you want to be any kind of writer, try to write. And to write note taking is the first step. It's a very clear and a very credible step. Yes, definitely agree.
So, coming to my second question, I'm a student of English literature as well. So I'm in second year BA. So my question is, there is a lot of writing that we have to do about prose and poetries and all. So, but when writing an answer or some research, even while preparing some research paper or some essay writing, I feel this kind of disconnect. Like you talked about communication is in a way about storytelling. Like you tell a story, people don't understand facts and figures, but if given context, they relate more to it, and in a way, it touches their consciousness more. It has a more possibility, but I feel this disconnect while writing, that after writing couple of sentences, I fall into this kind of short time writer's block where I don't know how to continue from there. I feel like the first, what comes to my mind first, I feel like it's not right or something. So how to overcome it?
See, that's why I said, the first thing I said was set your intentions clear. See, when it comes to intentions of writing an answer or anything, you first know the points. For example, if you talk about one point, and if you don't know what next to write, see, what is writer's block? Let's analyze that term. Writer's block is basically when the writer is kind of have a kind of it's a kind of a paralysis, you can say, mental thought paralysis. Basically doesn't know what to say next or how to say it. So if you don't have these two problems, you continue to write. You know what to say because you have a bunch of points. That's why I said it's a good idea to put everything in numbers, as you did now. Okay, if you see a question or if you see a particular subject or topic being given, first mentally tell yourself how many points that it will take to convey this.
So
5
basically
points, usually
making
5
an
points.
outline of it.
What?
Basically making an outline of it.
Exactly. See, you kind of have, if you have points, you are even clearer.
Yes, sir.
It's very concrete. And then you go on to deal with each point. For example, you're talking about Othello's plot, for example. Okay, Othello's plot is what is the outline of Othello? Who's the central character? Third point is what is the knot? What is the crucial point of the story? Fourth, how it is resolved. Fifth is what is the message that he's conveying. Okay, so if you divide like that, it's easier to sort of deal with the answers or anything, any particular analysis or anything.
Yes, sir. So, and my last question, it's more personal, but I feel very unconfident while speaking and like even writing, because like how others would think or how others would judge. So you talked
I
about
lost you
this,
there.
like,
Sorry, I lost you. Can you repeat it?
Sorry, I'm coming to it, sir. So while talking or while interacting with people, I feel kind of unconfident, and so because you talked about this, like if people will judge us on our identities, not based on abilities, but if I myself feel uncomfortable with myself, others will either. So is it some practical way to go about it to begin it? Like it's a genuine problem that I face.
You have, okay. You can program your subconscious mind to overcome this. How you do that? There's something called affirmation. Okay, go to YouTube and search for Louise Hay, Louise space Hay, Hay.
Louise Hay, okay.
Louise Hay and affirmation, self-esteem affirmation. Okay, so affirmations are basically statements that you keep telling yourself to program your mind. For example, if I'm sick, I usually what happens, we keep telling ourselves is, oh God, I'm sick. I don't want to be sick. What happens? It only makes you more sick. because that's what you're telling yourself. On
Yes,
the
sir.
contrary, if you keep repeating, I am healthy, I feel good, I'm very happy about who I am. It might sound a little funny, but this is something that you're going to tell yourself. It's not for the outsiders. Okay. So if you keep programming yourself in a positive way, you will learn, your self-esteem will be much higher. You see, first of all, you should understand that disability does not make you any inferior to anybody. Okay. You are a human being of 100% value. Okay. And you have to understand your value. If you don't understand your value, then other people cannot understand your value. You should understand your value and tell them that, look, I am so valuable. Only then they will come to understand you. So do self-affirmation, especially try Louise Hay's self-affirmation. That will work.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That was very useful, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next, I request Mr. Ganesh. Please, sir, please unmute yourself and ask the question. Ganesh ji.
Good afternoon, sir. Good evening.
Ganesh. Yeah, good evening.
Before I wanted to ask my questions, I would like to know that you told about yourself that in 1994 and around that there are not that much technologies there, but how could you overcome your difficulties? I mean, taking the notes and all those things. I mean, how could you manage that time?
Good question. Thank you. No, that basically I used a lot of tape recorders, with cassette recorders. If I want to sort of if I want to take notes in the classroom, I used to record it, come home, and then memorize it. That's the only way. There's no other way. No writing was possible. That was a very difficult period of my life because I just became blind. About 91, I became blind. So about the next 4 or 5 years, it was very difficult for me to get used to it. And it was so wonderful. In 2003 was when I first started to type on a computer with JAWS. It was almost like I was jumping in joy because that was the first time I was able to write independently. So yeah, it was very difficult. I mean, I did only audio, basically audio.
The second question, sir, is that one of my friend is ready with the topic and he has the skills to all you have told that you have to recheck and all this. I mean, he did wrote few things earlier, but the thing is that what can I say, where to, I mean, publish or how
publish
to.
it, okay. No, that's what.
I mean,
see,
yeah,
basically, you can send it off to newspapers. See, first of all, you have to have a Ganesh. One thing that you should understand is that only by reading a lot. See, I insist that anyone who has any aspiration to write must read at least 6 hours a day. At least 6 hours a day. Why I'm saying this is because only when you read, you understand where exactly your topic is going to go. If I write this topic, which particular category or a column or which particular newspaper is suitable for my article. You have to have the basic understanding. That understanding comes only with reading and becoming familiar with newspapers and magazines. At least the newspapers that are published in your city. Okay, you should be familiar with them. And once you are familiar, you know where to send it.
Okay. And last not the least, as you told about the blogging, is it accessible? I mean, we can arrange the text
Everything
and all
you can do
those
on your
things,
own.
but
Yeah. See, there are two blog platforms. Basically, one is the Blogspot
Blogger and the
Blogger
WordPress.
and the WordPress. Both are very accessible. And I used to use Blogger, but now I use WordPress. WordPress is much better, very professionally done. So I like their template.
The themes and the layout.
The themes
we have
layout
to
is
take
very
slight
good.
support.
Very good. Yes.
Okay. And I mean, what can I say? The domain and those things are later on we have to do. Or
Yeah. See, you don't
can we
invest any money on
consider-
it. It's free. Okay, use the free service first. get used to it first. Okay, get used to it, because I'll tell you, most of the people don't even understand the importance of search engine optimization. Okay, search engine, how do you
Right.
search engine optimize your blog post? You basically give the kind of a
Right.
tagline or a category which is something that the Google search can understand and pull out when someone is searching for it. So you should even the smallest of things people sometimes don't understand. So you have to get yourself familiar. See, if you want to be a professional content creator, the first thing that you should do is to understand the importance of each and every aspect. Giving a good headline, how to give a very interesting. See, don't write the text SMS language. You should learn to spell yourself correctly. Don't put the emoticons. Emoticons is okay sometimes. Even now, even professional writers, they use emoticons. But yeah, spelling is an issue.
Right.
Then how to create, somebody was asking before, right? How to say uh, a lot of things in a few words. That's the tech. That's a trick of blog writing.
Basically, how you presenting yourself in
Absolutely.
front of.
See, the content is
That
also
is
meant for an audience. It is like it's not you, it's not the writer that matters, it's the reader that you have
Right.
to make it reader friendly. Only then they will understand, they will come back to you, you'll have an audience.
Right. Sir, I mean, if we felt any difficulties in the future, can we contact you
I'm going to,
personally? If that
I'm going to
possible?
start a writing course. I'm going to create a writing community. Yes, anybody interested can become a part of it. Yeah.
Sure. Sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now I request Shiv Kumar ji. So please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, sir. I just want to congratulate the organizers for such a wonderful session and informative session. And the speech of the speaker was very inspiring, since I am also a RP patient. But so I was very eager to listen to him, that how he is managing in the journalism field. That when I read that like invitation that sir is also a RP patient, then I was very
Yes,
keen.
nobody understands us properly. Yes, I know.
Yes,
I
yes,
know.
yes. Because I am also RP patient, and I am also in your stage. Like I have also lost my eyesight, but I never get demotivated for that. But I am still working in a construction field. That
Wonderful.
because here
Nice
I
to know
was
that, Shiv Kumarji. Nice to know that.
I am
Keep going. Wonderful.
I am living in Gurgaon. That
Wonderful.
I am construction field. I am building buildings for
Excellent.
residential
Excellent.
purpose.
See, you understood the passion, your dream of your life, and you are living your dream.
Yes,
You're building dream houses, dream buildings.
yes,
Wonderful.
yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
We have also a group of RP people that we are 170 people of RP patient.
Wonderful.
So that if you tell me like any platform where we can share the inspirational stories of visual impaired persons, is there any platform?
We'll create something. I don't know right now, but yes, we can work on it. Yeah.
Well, I also invite you to share your experiences. Or
I will be very happy to. We'll connect after the program. Definitely, Sivji. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Last and final question. Yeah, it is time to take some few questions from chat box. Now I request Mr. Karthik read few questions from chat box. I'm handovering mic to Mr. Karthik. Karthik, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, before going to questions, hi sir.
Hi, Karthik.
Actually, it's a wonderful session, and I enjoyed it a lot. And
Thank you.
First of all, thanks to all of the participants, Venki bro and Mahesh bro especially, for giving this opportunity, because everyone in the participant is some kind of inspiration for me. And thank you. So let's go to some questions who some of our friends have posted in YouTube and Zoom. So our friend Raghavendra Raju has asked that how to improve quality of communication in writing.
There are only two things that you can do. One is read a lot and then write a lot. First is you read, because see, there is no formal way of learning writing. The best way to learn writing is reading, kind of writing that actually creates the passion in you to write. Okay, I spent a lot of time reading lots of books. Today, these days, there are audiobooks, there are e-books that you can read. When I was a reader, I never had any access to any of these things, but my friends and some of my people, well-wishers, they used to read a lot of books for me. Reading is the best way to improve yourself. And then write regularly. Write at least 100 words a day or 500 words a day, whatever you can. Regularly write. These are the only two ways to improve your writing.
Thank you, sir. It's really great. And one of our friends, Samantha Ruth Prabhu. So good afternoon. I want to become a newsreader actually. Is there any?
Okay. Right. See, okay. The first thing is you have to start from somewhere. Aspiring for something is good, but I would say that you join some community radio, join some radio first. Okay, start from there, because unless you get into the field, it's very difficult to understand the actual challenges that are there. Okay, once you understand the actual challenges, you will also go into a new into a television studio or a television organization with the confidence, and then answer the questions that they ask you. Because when they look at a blind person, the first thing they say is, oh, you want to be a newsreader? How will you handle this? How will you handle that? They'll ask all kinds of questions, which they normally don't ask other people. You should be ready to answer all of them. The only way you can do is first get yourself used to the studio environment, whichever way possible, wherever you want to do it, however you want to do it, you please do that first, and then get a practical understanding of it, and then you apply or talk to the news organizations. I'm sure you'll find your way if you're stubborn enough.
Thank you, sir. And one more question from our friend Raghavendra Raju is,
okay.
So as a visually impaired person, how can we solve copyright issues?
Oh yeah, copyright issues you have to solve only by checking whether some material is copyrighted or not. You can't give blindness as an excuse. If you want to take non-copyrighted materials, you have to, there are lots of platforms available. For example, LibriVox. I'm sure a lot of people who read literature, they must be familiar with the LibriVox. LibriVox.org is where you get a lot of non-copyright material available, and if you want to look at photography or video, there are also platforms from where you can pick up copyright free material. So you got to be careful about that, because if you're a YouTuber or a blogger, it's very likely that you will lose a lot of money, and it's a lot of wasted effort. So be careful about that.
Thank you, sir. And one more question from our friend Hina Shaikh.
Yeah.
So how can we get to know about your writing activity, and how can we become part of it?
Okay, first, thank you very much for asking the question. grapplingwithrp.wordpress.com. That's my blog. You can get a lot of my writings there, and if you follow the blog, you can more or less. I'll keep everybody posted about whatever the activities that I do. I very soon am in the process of forming a writing community, where I want to make all the passionate writers write. As I told you, you don't have to be a short story writer or a novelist, but still learning about writing will help you in any profession that you are in. So feel free to join, and feel free to be a part of the community. I'll keep you posted. You can also follow me on Facebook. Subramani Lakshmi Narayanan is my Facebook account. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow hashtag FableFoible, FABLE, FOIBLE, FableFoible.
Yeah, that's all, sir. We have completed our questions in chat box. And
excellent.
Thank you very much for your valuable time, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Venkatesh. He was the one who contacted me first. And I always enjoy talking to students, and because I crossed that stage, I know how difficult it is for them to choose a career, especially if they have a disability. So I'll invite all of you to be in touch with me in whichever way possible and continue the conversation. Thanks once again for all of you who have put in the effort to organize this, and let's continue the good work, and good luck to you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. One minute, please. I request Mr. Ganesh to give the vote of thanks to the sir. Mr. Ganesh Reddy.
At first, I'm very thankful to the Venkatesh because he introduced us Subramaniam sir to us. It's very happy, and I'm very thankful to all the participants who spread this information to the right persons to attend this session. And I'm also very happy that Subramaniam sir has shared his experience with all us. Definitely, sir, it is going to be very useful to us. We also broadcasted this live webinar to the YouTube. So in the future also, if anybody wants to know about this journalism and effective blogging, definitely they may come back to the channel and they may checking out the video. If in case if they have any problems and regarding the writing, or if they want to pursue any journalism related courses, definitely we will come back to you, sir, with their
You can
queries.
put my email there, lsubramani.visa@gmail.com.
Exactly,
You can put
sir.
my email so that they
And
can.
we also observed that many persons are passionate about the blogging, but they're well about their writing, but they're lacking regarding the setting up and running the blog. In this minute, so the team of people will be very happy to help you to set up the either WordPress or Blogger, whatever the blog you have or the platform you choose. Definitely, our people will help you out regarding the technology to start your writing through the blog. It may be helpful to you, many people. In soon, our team of people also planning to write some articles on education and technology for persons with disability through the dpwd.org website. It's Diksuchi for persons with disability. So if you can be also part of that activity also. I'm very thankful to Vandal once again. Have a great day. Otherwise, we also have the one discussion forum where you can join and you can discuss your queries and all technological and educational related activities. It's a Google Groups emailing list. You can subscribe to that list by sending a mail to dpwd+subscribe@googlegroups.com. Hope it helps. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Sam, now we can stop the match. You can stop the.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
You can share the host to Sham and he will stop the streaming live.
Yeah, Venkatesh Nayak wants to speak something.
Oh, with the Subramaniam sir. Okay. Please
Venki,
allow me.
are you there, Venki?
Hi, Mani sir. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Nice. Just a minute. Please.
Am I audible? Hello. Hello.
Just a minute. Venkat, you're audible.
Okay.
Nice.
Ganesh, hello.
Yeah, Mesh.
We will end the session. Okay?
Just a minute. Don't end the session. Just transfer the host to Sham. He will stop the live streaming.
So I'll stop the recording also.
Recording stop. You also stop the recording. And also allow the participants to unmute themselves.
Okay, sure.
These three options are enough.
I would, sir had left, but I would like to give some, info regarding program with the Subramani sir. With the team of DPWD, we are going to form a writing, team for a creative writing, sir, which you have mentioned in his recent, Q&A session. So for that, I'll be working on So you can research through DPWD, or we will be sending you reaching credentials to the Subramani sir. There you can register yourself, and you can be reach to the Subramani sir, and you can raise questions from there. And I'll be sending you his blog a link where you can read his all the blogs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Venkatesh, if you remember, you can post that into the chat box.
Actually, we will send it in a feedback mail. Actually, it was gone wrong last time. It was our first experience, so there were some technical errors. We could not send you feedback mail to everyone. So this time we will send it in a feedback mail. There they can reach and they can read his blog. And even post it in we will post it in a DPWD Google group.
Excuse me, Venkatesh sir. I have one question. Do we have to email to subscribe ourselves, or you have already subscribed our email ID?
If you have registered through Google group form, we have your mail ID and we will add you.
Like I have got.
Otherwise, you can send a mail
that,
to.
No. 1 minute.
Hello. Please,
hello.
Ganesh.
I have got email stating that I have been added to the groups. Now
then you are a part of that group. Then you will get all the updates.
If you want to send any mail to the group, you can just drop a mail to dpwd@google.com.
Hello.
Yeah.
Anna, please stop live streaming on YouTube. Ask Sham to stop it.
Once informed to Sham.